Hi guys, it's Jojo. Earlier today, Amanda made this tutorial about how to make a wallpaper using text and images to make a reflective property for GIMP. And I attempted it straight away because I actually asked her to make the tutorial because I wanted to make something similar. And my version turned out a bit dodgy comparatively. And I think that's because of the translations between GIMP to Photoshop. So if you use Photoshop like I do, I don't know, I find GIMP harder. So I just thought I'd make a video about how I made my version in Photoshop using Amanda's tutorial, like the whole translation process between GIMP and Photoshop. Okay, so what you want to do is first find the resolution of your screen, so just control print screen and file new, and it will turn up with your resolution. Now I have a double screen, so I'm just going to half this, and that's my resolution. Now what you want to do is fill it with black. So fill, choose color, and then choose a color. So if I wanted to fill it with salmon, I could go there, or black. Okay? Now next thing you want to do is just add some guides. This is just going to help you figure out where the middle is, so you can center your text later on, if you want it centered. So 50% horizontal, 50% vertical. Right? So now that shows us the middle of our document. The next thing we want to do is choose a font. So Amanda suggested choosing a font that's quite heavy and thick or bold. So I'm just going to go with this one and let's type. Okay. Another thing I'd like you to know is try not to choose a font that dips below every other letter. So for example, this J can be like this, and that actually messes up with the reflective property when you try it. So just make sure you have it all in the same plane. Now using the guides, I can tell where the middle is. So I just move this to the middle. I have snap to grid on and snap to guides, and just scroll down until you're happy with where it is. So I'm just going to say that's where I want it. The next thing you're going to do is choose a few images. Okay, so I'm just going to choose a few random ARI images. Okay, let's say I just want those 4. So because I have 4 letters here, I chose 4 images. So Control A, Control C, Control V. 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 Alright, at the moment you've got a bunch of images on top of your text. Obviously that's not what you want. So what you do is just create a clipping mask. Now what clipping masks do is clip the image to the one below it. So if we do this, create clipping mask, create clipping mask, create clipping mask, you'll see that this top image is now clipped to the bottom image. Okay, so reposition the image to where you want it to be, because I only want her to be visible on the eye. Let's just say I want that. Alright, instead of erasing all this stuff here that we don't want, apply a layer mask. Now what the layer mask does is exactly what it says, it just masks stuff out. Now use a black brush to erase what you don't want, without actually affecting the layer below it, the actual layer. Okay, let's repeat the process. Move the image to where you want it to be. So I want it to be, say, there. Click on the layer mask and paint over the stuff you don't want. Now this one, obviously I want this ARI to be on the H. Okay, so adjust it to fit on the H. Her to fit on the H. And layer mask. And the only thing that we need to remove is just this side here. So just there. And now for the J, because the J is below all the other layers and we're only affecting the J, we don't need to add a layer mask. And just move this to where you want it to be. So say it's going to be there. Alright, what I would do now is make a static image of these images attached to the letter. Okay, so hide the background and click on the topmost layer and then go Control Alt Shift E. Okay, so Control Alt Shift E. and that makes an applied image. If I hide all these other layers, you'll see that this is the only thing left. So now pretty much you've fixed these images to the letters. That makes sense. Now, so we don't get confused, I'm just going to name this main text. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy that for the reflective text. So Control J, and that was Control J, and then just rename this, so reflective. Okay, so what you've got is 2 copies of this. And the top copy, all you need to do is click any of these corners or any of these drag tools, and then right click, and we want to flip it vertically. Okay, so all it's going to do is flip it vertically. Now hold Shift, click and drag it to a reasonable distance, however far apart you want them. Okay, so that looks like that now. Now what Amanda does here is adds a gradient to this layer. So let's just make background visible for a sec. So what she does is add a gradient. What I'm going to do is the same thing but with layer masks. So add a layer mask, click your gradient tool, make sure this is chosen to be this one, make sure it's linear, this doesn't matter, and click about here, hold Shift and drag down to about the end of your text. Okay, now if you're happy with that, leave it like that, otherwise you can add another one. Like Amanda said, it's all about just practicing and playing around until you're happy with what you got. Okay, say that if that's something like this is what I wanted. Nope. A bit too much. Okay, say something like that's what I wanted. Now just adjust the opacity to be around, I don't know, 35%, it's pretty good. Now the other thing that I would do is add a saturation mask, saturation just to the main text. So again, create a clipping mask, so just effects here, and jump the saturation up. This is just to differentiate it between these two, make it pop out a bit more. The last thing you need to do is just select these two, use your move tool, and then just move it back to the middle, because it would have had changed a bit. Alright, and that's the final product. Hope this tutorial was helpful.